paid good money to see this movie. When they go out to a theater, they want cold sodas, hot popcorn, and no monsters in the projection booth.
Everyone pretend podcasting isn't boring.
Turn it off. Turn it off.
Team Cobra has gone down. Checking for survivors. Reinforcements are on their way.
All right, listen up. The infecteds are ruthless, strong, and they're smart. We were on a recon mission, killing infecteds. When we got redirected here, it'd be an emergency. I want a ready op, ASAP.
We thought you could use the help. Alistair?
Yes, Jim. This nearby base was running tests.
Where's Faction 13 now?
Captain Rupert hasn't responded in a week.
We gotta go now.
I will protect my team.
Then let's get started.
We need a team that knows how to work together.
I knew I was there. That's the plan.
Hit him!
Oh, Jim, I got this.
Hey folks, welcome to a special episode of The Projection Booth. I'm your host, Mike White. On this episode, I am featuring 3 interviews. First up, we're going to hear from writer-director Derek Ting. After that, we're going to hear from Marc Singer, who plays Colonel Green. And after that, we'll hear from Nikki Leigh, who plays Captain Leila Rupert. They are all behind the film Agent Recon. It is a brand new movie that is coming out June 21st, 2024. It's an action film. It's a return to form for Chuck Norris, who's in it as Alistair. Had a lot of fun talking with Derek, Mark, and Nikki, and I hope you enjoyed these interviews. Thank you so much for listening.
Mr. Ting, thank you so much for joining me today. I appreciate this.
Same here. Glad to be here.
Yeah. I'm so curious about you. You seem to do a little bit of everything, writing, directing, acting. How did you get your start? I know we only have 15 minutes, but can you give me a little bit of the Derek Ting story?
First love was acting, and I did some theater in college, and I just fell in love with it. And I actually got some part in New York, and then didn't think it was really a career. And later on, I got an opportunity to move to Hong Kong, so I moved to Hong Kong. And some casting directors and directors asked me to be in some films and some of their stuff. I revisited something that I was passionate about. And at that time, I was like, what if I'm going to actually try to pursue a filmmaking career? I'm going to take control. And I felt writing the script and writing a story was the way to go. So I wrote my first script, 6 years of nights and weekends trying to write the script, get it together. And we produced my first movie, Super Capitalist, and that came out in August of 2012. And from there, I've made 4 films now, and so Agent Recon's the 5th. And each time, I guess in my career, what I've tried to do is just pursue being good at my craft. Each time I've taken on a project, I've tried to be a student of a certain area and focus on that. So Super Capitalist was about plot, very complicated financial plot. And then the second one was a pure character story. And that was just a romantic drama. And so I watched a lot of romance movies, which is not something that I normally did as a kid. And so by my third movie, when I made the first Agent movie, which is now this is a trilogy, I went to the genre I really liked, which is action and sci-fi. And from there, I've just been building I won't say a castle, but I've been building a home around this new world of action and aliens and new rules and killing zombies and vampire-like creatures.
I really like that you are concentrating on different areas depending on which film that you're working on. That's a really great idea.
I worked with a stunt team for the first one. I'm one of the best stunt teams, Action Factory. They light people on fire. My stunt coordinator, he worked on Punisher with Netflix. Other things too. Lots of big budget movies. And then the second one, I did a lot of visual effects. So I worked with a lot of the top VFX supervisors. And then this one is pulling it all together. And I think I'm still learning. I'm enjoying wearing many hats and trying different things. But at the same time, it's a lot of this about making a movie is putting together a team and making sure your team is supportive and understands your vision. And at the end of the day, then it's really that team moving forward and trying to hit that vision as best possible. So a lot of people, I think the director is a very big role, but it's not the only role that will determine the outcome of film.
How was it when you first started directing other people?
Because I came from the acting background, like that's how I started. I've taken a lot of classes, I'm a coach, all those things, and then leading 5 movies and really being there and doing it under a lot of pressure. When I direct people, I think actually it's more of a walk in the park because I don't have to do the other things. Like I'm not acting on camera, so it's just me directing then. And because I understand different techniques to draw out a performance, naturally, it's a lot easier for me to work with the actors. And I think most of the actors that I work with have had good experiences. Marc Singer, for example, we're friends, and I learned a lot from him. And in fact, I actually, honestly, with Marc Singer, I didn't really have to direct him at all to say. And that's the thing that's what I meant about bringing together a team is when you have a great team and you've outlined the things that you're trying to accomplish and you've chosen a lot of things ahead of time, then a lot of it just, when you're in production, you're just executing and following through with your plans.
Tell me a little bit more about your team. Who are some of the people that you found yourself working with time and again?
Same stunt coordinator, Joe Fiddler, but he's second unit for me. Like sometimes I'm busy doing something else and I'm like, we need these shots. And the first AD is driving everything. Marissa thought this is the first time having a real AD, in fact, 2 ADs. So it was just like such a luxury, and she's really good. Director herself. And then my DP is amazing. We had a team. He was not operating camera. Usually on an indie set, you have the DP operating the camera. My idea was, okay, you can work with the 2 camera guys, and they have the RE Alexas. It was a huge operation because the RE is a beast. It's not just like a tiny camera or anything. You have to put it on a rig. And so Zach Trout's amazing too as well. And he comes from the lighting department, which I think is really important. I think a lot of times camera DPs come from the camera department, but when you have an understanding of lighting, that is just huge. So that's how I chose him, is him coming from that arena. And obviously the cast, Marc Singer, Beastmaster, and V, one of my childhood heroes, and Chuck Norris, of course, working with him. He's so amazing, such a good person, and really I think he just got behind the project because he wanted to support something cool, and he loved the script. So thankful, and what a great presence on set. What a great person to work with. It just makes everyone feel at ease, honestly. Not on pins and needles, but at ease. And of course, like Nolan has Emma Thomas, and Zack Snyder works with his wife. My wife, she's a producer. She has definitely been a rock in terms of when I can't make decisions, she does, and we complement each other very well.
Are you constantly talking about the film, or do you actually take a break when you're at home?
We're always talking about stuff, but our focus is on our son, our 6.5-year-old, who was on set with us. It was a very family set, and we have all these behind the scenes of him running around, and we posted something like where he's arm wrestling one of our actors, Jason Scott Jenkins. He's huge, like 6'8". You saw him in the movie. They're arm wrestling. It's so funny. But yeah, super fun.
I was wondering if he was CG at first because he was so massive. And then I was like, no, it's a real guy. Okay.
He was a football player at University of Nebraska, which was like one of the top college football teams of all time. So he's a big, solid guy. Yeah. Perfect casting for him. Very athletic. And he has a great fight scene.
You've been in this business now for over 10 years. And how have you seen things change, especially when it comes to the distribution of your own films?
I've tried different, like Gravitas, when I worked with them on my first movie, and the day and date model was something nobody ever heard of before. I was the guinea pig. This is 2012. Gravitas, nobody had heard of them, and Warner Brothers picked up our film through them. So they were like the middle person to get Warner Brothers. And Super Capitalist, my first film, was next to Batman when it was coming out. It was insane. And people, of course, thought it was like that budget level, of course. But yeah, distribution has changed a lot. And then Paramount picked up my movie Always, and that went 60 countries and translated, and it's evolved so much. And I'm a believer in cinemas. We're not doing that many starting out. I still think there's an opportunity there for certain films, and I think this is one of them. Chuck has not done a movie in 12 years. The movie is shot that way. It's shot on the Arri Alexa, $100,000 camera. We had 2 of them. We mixed in a theater. I think the image is great and the visual effects are solid, but it's an action story too. It's an action film, and it plays really well. I still think cinema has a place, and it's for a movie like this because, yeah, how many times has Chuck Norris done a film? It has been so long, like you have to see it in cinemas. But if you haven't, I actually think what is going on is amazing too. I think Amazon is a place where we want to be, because I think what Amazon is doing is they're bringing to life movies that you would have never thought were going to get made. And I wouldn't say that they're doing great stuff all the time, but it's an interesting time because certain things that you wouldn't have ever imagined is they're green lighting. And it's because it's not necessarily for the same reasons that you would have made a movie in the 80s and 90s. That kind of transformation is quite intriguing. I don't know what's going forward, but I know about Agent Recon. And let me tell you, the type of movie that you're watching is, I think, something that you can see with your kid who's maybe 10 to 15 years old. If you're a fan of Chuck and Marc Singer, I think you could probably bring your kid to watch it. If you are a fan of martial arts and action, you should watch this film. And I think ultimately, because this movie is a creator-led film, which is happening everywhere in news and media, the great thing is that the person behind it, me, is somebody who wants to have fun and misses that part of movies. Something that I could maybe watch with my kid and say, hey, remember, I used to watch this guy. But also like elements of action and having a thought process. Like the action, if you're watching it, it's a chess match. It isn't just flips and kicks. There's this character, Jim, figuring out how he's going to beat this character because maybe he's outmatched. So it's things like that really excite me. And then I think finally, yeah, a new world, like new rules. Zombies. I love a good zombie movie, but I know how to kill them. Shoot them in the head, right? So in this one, we're trying something different, and there's a science to it. So how do you kill and infect a human? They have to figure it out, or that's a different way. They have to find a different way to defeat that. Those are the things that make movies fun for me. Those are the things that I want to click on and watch and spend my time with. Watch it with somebody, and also not get something that I already know is going to happen.
Is there a good place for people to keep up with you in the film?
I'm actually just posted a behind the scenes on my YouTube. It's day 2. It's like 3. I have a lot. We have 12 days. There were 12 days, very short shoots, very quick. But there are 12 solid days on these huge, massive sets. And you can definitely see all the things that we were doing and how we worked. But on my YouTube, on my Instagram, go there and check it out. But yeah, it's good to watch those videos back, they're just good memories, and we had a fun time making the film. So seeing it though, if you're a filmmaker, you can glean a lot from what I'm doing in the sense that I'm appealing to a certain audience, but I don't have everything at my fingertips. For example, we shot in the ranch in these hills, and when we scouted, it was all desert. And when I returned, because it had rained day one, I had to change a lot of things, because it's like, how are we recording in the rain? I'm like, okay, why are they in the rain? So I had to like find some transitions last minute, because and this is LA. It never rains in LA, and of course it's raining. So that was one obstacle. But another obstacle was, I've been saying this, which was so frustrating. It's like, I'm never going to be able to come back to this set. It's so lush here. It's so green. Like, how am I going to be able to reproduce this? There's no way I can reshoot this. So I better get it right for the first time. So short amount of time, and the like rain and green, and oh man. But I was very blessed in the sense that it was beautiful. It was beautiful. Like the hills, the rolling hills. It was beautiful. It was magical. And then the rain made it so cinematic, I felt. And that was something I didn't expect. So sometimes things that are obstacles become great parts of the film. I would say the only thing is that it was painful and cold. I had this one clip where I'm crouched down behind these barriers. So in the movie, I climb up these steps, and I'm up on the roof to pick off some of these infected aliens. Of course, they have to film that, so I'm up there, and I'm waiting for the whole crew to come up with these gigantic cameras that have to be like mounted. And so I'm waiting because it takes a while. It was like this narrow stair to get up there. So I'm just like crouched down in the rain, huddled behind this like little barrier, just so that the wind wasn't gonna make me freeze to death. I was like, oh man, but who cares? Because it looked cool. And Marc Singer's, he watches the first couple, because the first day it was raining and Marc Singer, first shot and raining. And Marc's, we have a movie. We have a movie. This is awesome. Like, he was so excited. I was like, you're right. Yeah. So good moments, but in crazy times, because we have these expensive cameras in plastic bags, like walking through the mud, and you're like, oh man. Let me wear a different hat. I'm a producer. I'm like, please don't break the camera. Yes, we have insurance, but please don't like break anything so.
I'm glad you survived. Mr. Ting, thank you so much for your time. This was great talking with you.
Great talking to you too. Thank you for your time. Thanks for supporting the film and watching it, and appreciate it.
Can you tell me about your turn on Columbo, playing the young doctor on a soap opera in that one?
I saw that for the first time just about a year ago or so. Somebody brought me a DVD in which that occurred. That's the first thing in Hollywood I ever did. I played a doctor in a soap opera. So I was on television. And I think I was one of the clues that Columbo put together to discover who the murderer was. But I've never seen it. I'd never seen it before. It's interesting looking back at your work in the past, even something small like that, because it introduced me to the sound stages of Hollywood back in the day when we still used film, and all the equipment was cumbersome and antique by today's standards. But what a training ground and what an insight into that, what that was. So when I look back on it now, somebody flipped me a DVD of it and I watched it, and it's interesting to see the growth as an actor, but it's also wonderful to look back nostalgically and remember what you were like and who you thought you were in those days.
I know everybody probably asks you about Beastmaster and Body Chemistry and some of these bigger titles, but you were in one that I absolutely loved called If You Could See What I Hear. How was that being Tom Sullivan in that movie?
It was a real revelation in a lot of ways. Preparing to play somebody who is deprived of their sight was a challenge to make, first of all, to make the physical aspect of it believable. But secondly, to get into the spiritual sense of what that's like, and to spend days at a time blindfolded and trying to learn Braille and sensing the world in a different psychological way and also in a different emotional way. And boy, I learned a lot from that. An interesting exercise sometimes, just for the fun of it, is in a conversation with somebody is just to close your eyes and talk to them and spend some time in conversation that way. The entire nature of what you absorb and what you respond with is altered by that. But if you could see what I hear was just, we filmed that up in Peggy's Cove in Nova Scotia. The sky blue ocean with the white capped waves and the lobster sandwiches and the sunny shores it was like we were all on vacation. We really had to remind ourselves we were making a film.
So tell me about your experience making Age of Recon. Obviously, you've been in this business for a lot of years. What is filmmaking like now for you?
It's a great question, because filmmaking, unlike any other experience that I can think of in the world, is one in which the exploration of the inner self shows up on the screen. What you've been through, who you are, what you've learned in life, and then what you represent when you come onto the set. If you're a veteran, the way I am, as you say, from decades of filmmaking, you can't help but have a certain sense of your own history and also what that history exemplifies. Not just so much as a personal thing, what I am, who I am, that kind of thing, but the stuff that you've seen, the stuff that you know, that you don't know, that you exemplified by everything you do on the set, that you have a lot to share with people. And that even that said, that they have a lot to share with you, and if you keep your eyes and ears open, you may learn something. And as long as you can keep that balance between what you're offering and what you're receiving, I think it makes for a happy, creative situation in the world. And that probably is true in everybody's profession.
You mentioned the way that equipment has changed over the years. Obviously, you've changed as a person, but has your way of approaching roles, has that changed over the years as well?
Definitely. There's no question about it. I take my work so much more seriously now. And what was easy to me before, I now delve so much more deeply into. And my intention now in being an actor and what acting itself represents and the legacy that we're going to leave behind, whether we want to or not, that legacy should be contributed to in the best way possible. So sure, yeah, I take my work a lot more seriously now. I have a great deal more fun. I'm a lot more accessible, I think, emotionally and personally. It's different for me now. And Agent Recon, I have to say, with Derek Ting as the writer, director, producer, and leading man, it was very generous of him to take me aboard, because this is a new chapter in my work. And I hope that people who come to see it will not only appreciate Derek's work, because he's just a wonderful actor. He's great with the action scenes as well. And for Chuck Norris, you could say the same thing, but also that they recognize in me a deepening of my work.
I had an opportunity to speak with Mr. Ting earlier this week, and he said that you seem to have a ball on this particular shoot.
We had a great time. We were filming on some of the legendary Hollywood ranches outside of Los Angeles, up in the hills. Herds of deer would come wandering through the set. And the sets themselves, these old movie towns, we were in these dilapidated, post-apocalyptic scenario where up one alley and down the next and up a flight of dark stairs and out on a balcony and across a rooftop, you had the sense that there was danger around every corner and a kind of a sense, an aroma, an electricity in the air that was foreboding. And to see these town sets brought back to life and put on screen again and to be a part of it, that was an amazing experience. I worked with Henry Fonda years ago on a television miniseries called Roots, and this was Roots Part 2. And he was standing out looking at one of these towns that was built for that, specifically for that film, for that series, later used, I think, in True Grit, starring John Wayne. And I said, "What are you looking at, Henry?" And he said, "I haven't seen a set like this built in years and years. This is just really takes me back to a time past." That's how I felt on those sets with Derek.
Mr. Singer, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate this.
Agent Recon, that's what brought us together. And I thank you, Mike, for sharing that with me. I hope I didn't talk your ear off.
You did not. I would love to do this again sometime. Thank you so much. I would love to know a little bit more about you and kind of how you got your start in the business, if that's all right.
I honestly thought I was going to have a normal life. Up until I went to college, I graduated cum laude. I was setting myself up for my future and found myself in a modeling career that eventually landed me a cameo in a movie. And from that cameo, I just was so excited about how everybody was working together for one major project or film. And then I just wanted to be on it more. Like I wanted to be on set and with everybody longer and have more of a position. And so I was like, I want to act. Like I want to be on this more. I want to be a lead, like a leading lady, if you will. And so I went to work and I asked people, what do I do? And they were guiding me, and you got to get an agent, you got to get a manager, which is not easy. And also going into acting classes and things like that. And it's been a pretty up and down road for me because there's a lot of stereotyping and typecasting. So it's been really beautiful to meet Mark Tillman, who's the casting director of this amazing film. And he saw me just as someone that can do a different role than what meets the eye. So I thought that was really very innovative and beautiful and kind of him to see that in me and give me this chance. And it was really fun and really something that I'm like, okay, more action.
Was it just through the casting agent that you're able to find different ways, or have you tried different approaches to say I'm more than just a pretty face?
Honestly, yeah, I had to do a lot in the world of social media. You can get a bunch of followers for doing the easy way out. They call it the TNA way. And I was like, no, I don't want to do that. I have to really let people know I'm more than just whatever is on the outside. And it was so hard, by the way. It was so hard to not just fall into what's easy and what can get me the numbers, right? And to have people view me differently. And so I just kept putting out things that I enjoyed, very gratitude based, very positive based, my degree is in psychology. So my social media, I wanted it to reflect something that I was passionate about, which is psychology and mental health. And so it really took a turn and became that more or less, which was really nice.
So tell me about Agent Recon. What was this role like and how was your experience on the film?
Yeah, this role was really great. It was nicely challenging, both emotional and physical, and then entirety mental. And it was really special to be around such great people. These people they're all so integral. Like from Derek Ting to Marc Singer and even Chuck Norris. These three especially they're so unique, these men. They're kind, they're family, oriented, they're hardworking, they are just respectable gentlemen. And honestly, it was a pleasure and an honor to work with all of them. I definitely felt like it was such a warming set. It was like that first day that I stepped on a set, seeing that everyone was really working together, like really became a family that I really wanted to be a part of. So it definitely was able to put me in that reminiscing moment and being like, wow, yes, this is why I'm here. I have been acting for over 10 years now, but it's always so nice when things run smoothly and respectfully. That's a big thing. There was no egos on this set. Everyone understood each person's position and respected it. And yeah, everyone was in high spirits and really ready to work because of the way that the tone was set.
What did you have to do in order to get ready for it?
Because it's really physical, definitely had to make sure that I was taking care of my body, from going to the gym to making sure that I properly was stretching and so you don't pull anything, and eating, just making sure that you are staying healthy or staying energetic and things like that. So you want to read the script and you want to understand who your character is, and you want to understand the other characters as well, so you can navigate it and visualize the movie a little bit before it's being shot. And just making sure that you understand the relationships. So I really just had to deep dive into understanding the relationships between each character and understand who she was, who this captain was, right? Because you have such a ranking, but who is she on the inside? She's a daughter, and she's also has a fleet of mostly men to advise and tell what to do. And there's a lot riding on that, especially because in the military, her father was also there. So there's a whole other level to it. So just understanding these levels and these relationships and being able to really find her strength, which helped me find some strength as well, which was really nice. This one was just a new level, like a military level, which was really cool.
When you get a role like this, do you write out the background, come up with a backstory for that person, or is it more internalized for you?
I like to write things out. I think it really does seep into my brain better. So I literally do write things out. I'm constantly writing, even through each little like line that I have. It's like, what's my intention behind it? So there's a lot of writing, even a bio or even like childhood story, depending where you need to pull from and just, where she's at in her life.
Now, when you're not on set, when you're between projects, what are you typically doing? Are you auditioning a ton, or what do you do in between gigs?
Honestly, the auditioning part, it ebbs and flows. It's like, it really is dependent more on the industry rather than myself, as well as how hard our agents or managers are working or whatever. But honestly, on my free time, I'm doing a ton of self work and also just trying to help my fellow people out there. And by reaching out through like social media, I'm also traveling a lot. And when I travel, I'm always researching health. Health is like my passion and my drive. So I'm constantly even traveling. And when I say health, I also not only mean like nutrition and physical health, but I also mean spiritual health and mental health. So I am constantly traveling around the world to find different modalities of health and experience them. And I feel like really just experiencing life in general in different cultures, which allow me to be able to connect with more people and just try and spread light wherever I go.
Do you have your next movie role lined up?
I do. I can't really talk too much about it quite yet, but I do. It's pretty exciting. It's a sci-fi film, and this one's going to be really fun. It really is. I'm excited for everyone to see this once it starts to get in its rhythm.
And where's the best place for people to keep up with you and your work?
Instagram is probably the best because there's always that link. You can always figure everything out. So my Instagram handle is Miss Nikki Leigh. And then make sure definitely to look for the blue verified check mark because there's a lot of imposters.
Thank you so much for your time. This was a real pleasure talking with you.
Oh, yeah, you too. Thanks so much.
found 'em underwater. Unlike Recon. Unlike Recon. Unlike Recon I've ever known.